It's April Fools! I assume most of you are too smart to be fooled since you know it's coming. I use this day as an excuse to just do a bunch of random videos I usually wouldn't. Often includes me answering a bunch of questions or talking about some subjects that you want me to talk about. I asked about it some time ago, I received, so here we go. Let's get the Sonic questions out of the way first. Austin Reed, how about Sonic character design dissected? I don't think I can do that. I'm not very knowledgeable in design in and on itself. I guess I could ask my friend Alexandria to talk about it. She's more into designs and has some more interesting observations. But I almost have nothing interesting to say about, say, the movie Sonic. Yeah, the white hands are weird. If you're gonna give him blue arms and not give him gloves, why not just use the snout color for the hands as well to give the impression of a glove without suddenly randomly adding white in his design? Uh, well, and that's it. That's all I have to say about his design, I guess. He looks okay. Uh, Sorry, I'm not really into character design. Can't you tell by my cartoons? Melting Man, what are your thoughts on Sonic the Comic Online and Archie Sonic Online, the unofficial continuations of Fleetway Sonic and Archie Sonic's old continuity? It's an incredible thing all the Sonic fans do. So yeah, there's multiple webcomics on the internet that continue the Sonic Archie comic and the British comic past their original cancellation, and in the Archie comics case, ignoring the Worlds Collide timeline split. With how messy and careless the writing seems to be within the Sonic series in general, I think there's very little difference between fan work and official work, really, sometimes. Well, okay, fan work might break a ton of Sega's rules and go rated R if they want. Though, as far as I can tell, as far as these fan continuations go, they rarely have ever seemed to break any extreme boundaries. Well, the obvious ones anyway. You never know what random and stupid things Sega might occasionally object to. If anything, these stories have the potential to be way better as they don't have to tiptoe around Sega's weird rules. The art quality of the Archie remake is incredible and seems very much in line with the original. Has to say melodrama. The art quality of Sonic the Comic is a little more freestyle and can be very crude, which kind of fits the Sonic comic very well. I have to admit, I kind of like the rougher art sometimes. It's a weird nostalgia to it. And there's some genuinely impressive art as well. And besides, I'm the last person in the world who should be allowed to call anyone else having a crude art anyway. Yeah, it's awesome stuff. Great to see these universes live on, and I occasionally check in. I love how they're even emulating that typical magazine feel to it with editorials and answering letters sent in fan art. That's great. The panel is kind of weird for the Archie comic side, though. I associate CTM and Archie Sonic with a darker atmosphere with swamps and forests, not with Sonic Runner's Green Hill Zone or something, but oh well. As for how well they specifically follow the plots in and on itself, I think they're doing a pretty good job. It does feel very close to the originals. Can't go super in depth, I still have to read the original comics more deeply through, but yeah, so far on the surface looks pretty good. Who Let the Monsters Out? Have you played any of Sonic's imitators? If so, which ones did you think copy the formula the best and the worst? Okay, funny story about Bubsy the Bobcat for me personally, the Sonic play-like from the SNES. When I was a kid, I could have sworn Bubsy was one of the big franchises on the level of Mario and Zelda, because everyone I knew who owned a Super Nintendo had Bubsy as well. I like the first one. Sure, it's hard as balls and it's awkward and how you're encouraged to play the game slow despite it being a super fast character in a Sonic style game. But when I learned how the game works, I had an okay time with it. I hated the sequel though. I get physically sick of all the maze levels and the weird graphics of Bubsy 2. Anyway, yeah, I played a ton of Sonic imitators, of course. Talked quite a bit about Freedom Planet so far. That one is easily my all-time favorite Sonic imitator, although it's not really a Sonic clone. It has many other elements to it that makes it its own unique thing, by adding a lot of beat-em-up and Mega Man-style gameplay to it. I love the Jazz Jackrabbit series, especially the second one thanks to the level editor. That's literally Sonic but with guns. Well, I never got into the Arrow the Bat series. I'm not sure why. Something about the gameplay never clicked with me. But the spin-off game starring Zero the Kamikaze Squirrel, I did enjoy that one. I guess because he's more straightforward without the bat flying mechanics. A game I don't have any strong feelings about but want to bring up for a bit since few people know about it, I think, is Rocky Rodent. Also a Super Nintendo game where you mix Sonic with the Tasmanian Devil. Again, don't have strong feelings or thoughts about it, but give it a go if you like Sonic style games. It has an interesting mechanic where you use your haircut to attack and do stunts. I have promised to talk about Spark the Electric Gesture at some point, but I still haven't. It's because I want to be positive about the game, but for whatever reason, when I talk about it, it's mostly negative stuff. Hard to talk about it. It's technically a great game and doing a lot of things I like. I like the Sonic and Kirby gameplay mix, but there's something about the setting, level design, level aesthetics that just never really clicked with me. I have some thoughts about it, but that's maybe better for some other time. When the sequel is released, perhaps, which should be soon, I think. The weirdest Sonic imitator is one specifically for the Sega Game Gear games. A Game Gear game called Coca-Cola Kid. I'm not sure, but I could swear that this game is made by the same team who made Sonic Chaos. Very similar tone, music, and mechanics. A lot harder though. I love how agile the kid is. He's grabbing onto ledges and having all kinds of flips and attacks. For a Game Gear game, it's very impressive. So if you like the Game Gear Sonic games and Sonic Chaos in particular, give this one a shot. Although there's no Tails equivalent in the game. But yeah, Freedom Planet is probably my favorite Sonic imitator style, although Jazz Jackrabbit is probably better as in being a more direct imitation, despite the gun gameplay. The worst, Bubsy 2 probably. I never played Fractured Tales or Bubsy 3D, so don't know about those. But yeah, they're all 2D games. I haven't really encountered a 3D Sonic imitator. Fork the Electric Jester will be the first one, I suppose, but not released yet. Dragon Tiger Sword! Did you know Sega still considers Sonic 06 canon? I know what you're probably thinking. Wait, didn't the event of that game erase itself? Yes, but you should read the original Tumblr reblog I found about the game. A link. The ending has been The ending has been misinterpreted by the fandom on the English side of the fanbase. While the game did retcon itself, Sega still considers the game canon to the main series to still have happened, and to still have happened in the first place for it to erase itself. This isn't the case like the Game Gear games Knuckles Chaotix or Sonic Chronicles The Dark Brotherhood, in which Sega likes to pretend they flat out never happened at all. The original author of this post was Jadil, who sadly went very private since he experienced harassment after she made this post. She was simply explaining Sega's stance on Sonic 06. Yeah, well, talking about Sonic 06 in any other capacity than beating the dead horse to the ground of how bad it is tend to get you a lot of harassment, sure. Yeah, I always question this violent stance on Sonic 06 being entirely erased. I mean, the city of Soliana, Princess Elise, those elements should still exist. We see them exist after the universe is reset, after all. Just the fact that story events were eliminated doesn't mean the ingredients cease to exist as well, but then again, I understand perfectly well why people have that stance that everything Sonic 06 related should be erased. Not from any in-universe logic, but entirely from a meta, real-world perspective. We hate this game, therefore it shouldn't exist, with the game itself having a reset button as a handy bonus. After all, the series does entirely operate on brainless meta logic these days, so I'm sure people's feelings override any in-universe logic. Anyway, so the points of this article is that Sonic 06 ends with Blaze being sent to another dimension, that being the Sonic Rush Adventure World, Soul Dimension. And despite us assuming Eggman Nega is Eggman's dimension counterpart in Sonic Rush, apparently that was only implied, never actually stated, with the implication being that Nega, being from the future, is his real backstory. He just somehow got to the Soul Dimension at some point, just like Blaze has. I have to admit I never realized that. I did fully fall into the trap that Eggman Nega was genuinely meant to be Eggman's other dimension counterpart in Sonic Rush when I played that game. But yeah, checking it back, it's definitely only implied. This is kind of funny. I guess that means Marine is literally the only actual main character we know that's native from the Soul Dimension. All her and a koala bear and polar bear NPCs, I guess. Weird thing to think about. Unless Marine also has a hidden backstory where she was also transported from Sonic's future. Who knows at this point. Then Greenie Vertigans mentioned that Blaze never mentioned Sonic in Sonic 06 at all. Her talking about a blue hedgehog was a translation error, and she was merely talking about Silver being naive, the Japanese word for naive being close to the word of blue. So initially it was supposedly meant as a sneaky hidden pun, but the English writers went with the wrong interpretation of it. And as other people already noted, that Blaze never interacts with any other characters other than Silver in the entire game, leading to fan theories that she's just a figment of Silver's imagination to begin with. In other words, the only connection she had with Sonic, as far as we know in the game, is a translation error, hence why they genuinely meet for the first time at Sonic Rush. Alrighty then. So apparently Sonic 06, Rush, and Rivals don't quite contradict each other, but do work together. Well, they would have if the English translation team didn't fuck up the translation. Apparently there was a game starring Silver planned which would have tied up all the plots together in one cohesive narrative where Nega's true nature would have been revealed and Silver and Blaze's position in the story clarified, but then that game never happened. So what was meant as a Kingdom Hearts style plot twist where the previous games were implying and vaguely tricking the audience to thinking one thing, and then this Silver exclusive game would have been released to pull the rug out under us, reveal the true nature of what's been going on, except whoops, that game never came to be, and instead all we're left with is all the misdirection, implications, and vague wishy-washy exposition that we got. Hence why everyone's confused now. Then the argument is made that later games do address the plot more often, although mostly through vague symbolic references and statements the English translation team keeps removing. Look, I'm fully willing to believe this is the case, and I'm sure there's people deep within Sonic Team who do understand the characters, the story, and have some drive to have it relevant in the game, and add all these fun little details like this. The problem is, those people aren't really in charge, are they? And can at most get the occasional reference out. After all, recently they released this amazing manga that had little mini stories about the cast that did do a great job in making the character feel real again, with jokes and even touching moments all feeling in character and genuinely connected to the previous games. The one who wrote this really got the adventure era nailed down. So that's neat for this non-canon little manga that only got minor release through promotion, with the American branch of Sega not really giving it any attention at all. But the actual real games and the canon stories we do get wipe their asses on anything that isn't brainless fan service and jokes. So it seems the American team is mostly in charge now, who were already suppressing this running storyline even when it was relevant, and have outright eliminated any form of world building, character progression, or anything of any storytelling value out of the games. Sonic at this point is a soulless husk of meta references and meme jokes. So at this point, I highly doubt we get any kind of resolution of this storyline, any clarity, any closure, and Blaze and Silver and Nega will remain in this eternal Schrödinger's cat limbo state. Add to that technically their story has been resolved with a cop-out by just having Blaze and Silver randomly appear to be best friends in Sonic Colors on the DS with no explanation at all. So there you go. No need to revisit this plot anymore. It has been resolved. It's kind of like having 4 Harry Potter books and then skipping the last 3 and then the next book casually mentioning Voldemort is dead and Harry married Ginny in a completely unrelated book that took place far in the future. Freak Geek Entertainment asks, if Sega were to remake Sonic Adventure, would you like the script to be untouched, or would you not mind it be modified or improved? The second scenario does not guarantee it makes it better, and could either be Pontaff or Sonic Team Japanese writers to be the ones in charge of the story. I'm pretty sure the script would be changed in that situation already anyway. It's already a given that they'll have the new voiceovers to avoid having severely compressed audio like the Shamu HD collection did. And I think Sega does want to have consistency when it comes to voices, which makes the Sonic movie kind of interesting, but alright. And this might surprise you, I don't think I'll mind them changing the script a bit, even if it's Pontaff, and you know why? Because Sonic Adventure, unlike most modern Sonic games, has things happening in its story. Every cutscene sets something up, it goes somewhere, events happen, they evolve, there's a payoff. This story has a structure, so Pontaff can't really do that much damage because they have to be setting up the setting for the next event. There's very little room for giant monologues or jokes. Very little room for them not to understand what's going on because everyone's actions, motivations, and behaviors are all baked into the story itself. This isn't a modern Sonic game where you have to assume most of their alleged personalities, their motivations and fates are only vaguely implied. Everything going on here is right there on the screen. Knuckles' sense of duty is his story. Tails being the younger sibling looking up towards Sonic and wanting to become a man himself is his story. When things happen, they actually physically happen within the gameplay. When Amy's kidnapped, she's kidnapped. We see her in prison, and then Sonic immediately goes to rescue her, and Amy's in her cell and escapes and inspires E102. We get a fun, playable event where Amy's walking around the egg carrier, exploring and screwing around. Events have weight, punch, consequences, flow, everyone's stories connect and influence each other. As opposed to modern Sonic games where the story is said in a cutscene, but then not represented in anything you do in the gameplay, and then the next cutscene is doing something entirely different. And Yacker is kidnapped. Whatever. Here's a bunch of levels, and I guess he's saved off screen somewhere. Oh no, Eggman is angry at the Zeddies, and then nothing. Oh no, Tails is a robot, and then nothing. And oh no, Sonic is tortured, and then nothing. And the dialogue is important in modern Sonic because that's literally all you have. The gameplay is disconnected from the story. The story is just said disconnectedly, and characters drop out of the story with no closure. You get the drill. I don't need to rant about this again. Sonic Adventures components are all in harmony together to be one event. That alone makes me love the story, and there's very little that changing details in the dialogue can change that. I mean, sure, no doubt I'll have some nerdy nitpicks that I might feel some details are off or some drama loses its punch. Or maybe it's even better and improved, and especially I'm sure the pacing of the cutscenes will be a lot better. But this time the story has a skeleton. So just merely the dialogue can't really damage all that much. The story really is baked into the game itself. Everything is interconnected. If Pontiff still managed to fuck that up, then I'll send a copy of this script to every church in the world so they finally have real proof that God exists, because no one can fuck this up without some serious divine intervention. Anyway, speaking of the potential Sonic Adventure remake that's never gonna happen, there's a second question about it. Solidus Scully. Is even the very idea of a Sonic Adventure remake a good idea, considering that even if the controls, graphics, voice acting, and regrettably, the story were to be updated to modern standards, as in the vein of modern games, as they likely would be, the gameplay itself would still be panned for the very same elements that people critique about the game now, like Big's fishing minigame and any gameplay style that isn't the Sonic levels. That's a good point. I think Sonic Adventure is one of the better games to remake because it's a game more like for its ideas, ambitions, and concept more so than the specific technical execution. So I think there's more people willing to see Sonic Team fix it up and tinker with Adventure's gameplay to make it more tight, fast, and fix all those issues. Rather than, say, Sonic 2 or Sonic 3 and Knuckles, where any change Sonic Team would make would immediately be sacrilege. Although, that said, trust in Sonic Team is extremely low at the moment, especially with Adventure fans, so maybe not. I'm pretty sure most Adventure fans, including me, are sarcastically waiting for it to just become another Sonic Colors 2D puzzle fest. Anyway, personally, I don't think the gameplay of Amy, Eonut, and 2 and Tails are really that different from Sonic. They feel pretty close, just some mild other flavor for it. It isn't like Sonic Adventure 2, where the treasure hunting and mech levels really were designed to be their own gameplay with their own levels. Most of Sonic Adventure 1's alternative game modes feel like slight modification of their regular Sonic gameplay. So sure, in the remake, rebalance it a bit, make Amy slightly faster, reduce the puzzles, and focus more on the robot chasing her, make Eonut and 2 more agile, and make more fun to control through the platform sections. Although that is assuming you want to flatten all the gameplay styles into the same Sonic mold. I suppose it is possible they rather go the Sonic Adventure 2 route and separate them more from each other. Still, as far as I'm concerned, if you think Sonic Colors is nothing but genuinely the proper daytime Sonic stages from Unleashed, despite all the Wisp puzzles, then you have no right to complain about Tails or Amy feeling off in Adventure 1. Even Knuckles, I guess the direction of the levels are different since you're searching for things, but the way he moves or how fast he is, I don't think he's really that different from Sonic. You know, the only big elephant in the room, pun intended, I guess, is Big the Cat. He is a sore thumb. That would be the biggest challenge. I suppose if I was the developer of the remake, I'd be very tempted to throw the whole fishing thing out and replace it with a different gameplay style. Big using his fishing hook as a grappling hook and turn it to a bionic commando, or Big rolling up in a ball for a more rolling physics gameplay to make the classic fans drool, and reduce the fishing to a minigame where you just move your bait through water dodging obstacles like a shoot 'em up game without the shooting. But that might be blasphemy, although I wonder how many fans would be that concerned about preserving Big's gameplay. Alternatively, I suppose making Big an optional part of the game would help, but yeah. Big the Cat is definitely always going to be an issue a lot of people will be discussing about if you ever get a Sonic Adventure remake. Fortunately, we don't have to worry about that because I really doubt that's going to happen. Anyway, that concludes all the Sonic questions, so end of this video, I suppose. Bye-bye.